All right, so in this video, I'm going to basically cover the topic of basically the inanimate objects. And the reason I'm going to mention this is basically like we're going to talk about viruses. You see, viruses, basically, there's no life to a virus, okay? See, a virus, again, is something that is so microscopically small that it's almost impossible to even see it through a microscope. Excuse me, because my throat feels a little dry. And look, the magenta drink, this is the real tea of the gods. I made that video, the real tea of the gods. If you haven't watched that, please go watch that and you can see the ingredients I use in here. This is actually dressed up with a little bit of agave nectar, lemon, and a sprinkle of pink Himalayan salt. All right, and I mean, you'll see the ingredients in the video. In that video, if you're too lazy to look, I'll link it in the description so you can see it. But it's definitely worth it because this drink is so refreshing. It's delicious. It's beautiful, and it will open you up in ways that you have no idea. Of course, your state of being is more important than anything, and your intent. Man, that drink is. I wish I could give a sample shot to everybody that watches my videos. I would literally do that because it's so good. Honestly, it's like a real, and all the stuff you grow it yourself. The only thing I didn't grow was basically the cinnamon sticks and the the licorice root. But I'll tell you what, man, the most important organs in your body are basically your kidneys, your liver, your adrenals and whatnot. And I'll tell you what, man, these things will really stimulate some movement in these particular organs. And one of the things I could tell you is that, me studying iridology right now, where I'm pretty much almost cleared on that. But one thing I could tell you that's very important is that every herb holds a specific frequency. And if you're able to know the frequency of these herbs or study these herbs in detail, also getting to know the organs in your body, organs emitting a frequency, that's why they're called organs, and you're able to find a harmonic resonance, then, I mean, why would you not be able to heal any kind of disharmony in your body with frequencies? You get what I'm saying? In a physical aspect, because you could do it in a, with sounds like, you got tuning forks, you got a bunch of different things that people use for healing, but you use them in something that actually has a life force to it, such as what you're growing in your garden. Like when I look at, what the watermelons I'm growing in my garden, that's a big ball of life force. If you look at it, the sun hits the leaves, it sends all the sugars and the sweetness to the fruit, and from the root system you get all the nutrients coming into that watermelon, and it's housed in a capsule. And then when it's ready to go and it's packed with all the life force and nutrients in there, because the little stick goes brown all the way to the bottom, which I call the ticking time bomb. Once I see that, poof, I see the fireworks. And that's what happens in my mind. I see those fireworks. Like whenever you see the stick hit the bottom of that dynamite, poof, and you see the explosion of beautiful colors, the rainbow. That's what I envision every time I cut one of those watermelons. So when I cut the watermelon, I take it inside, and the moment I cut that watermelon open, I mean, that's just life force that I'm eating right away. And then when I cut it into pieces, and then I put it into the plastic containers and I put it in the refrigerator, it's housing that life force in there. And it's possible because of the seeds that are in there as well. And I know we got seedless watermelons, but if you can't grow your own watermelons, or you can't get your own seeded watermelons, I mean, even the seedless ones will work. It's the intent behind everything that matters. I mean, there's no excuses. If I can't eat that because that's GMOs, but you'll go eat, let's say, something that's not favorable to you. So either way, this is what I was going to talk about when it comes down to certain inanimate objects, because you see, viruses hold no frequency. I mean, there's no life to a virus, but it doesn't mean it's basically an inanimate object. It's basically a frequency. And I made a video called the Cold War, all right, and I'm going to link that video in the description, because that goes into detail on what I feel this virus actually is as far as like energy, frequency, and vibration goes. I'm going to tie that video into the description so you can watch those couple of videos, because it's going to tie into a lot of what I'm talking about now. But if you heard the previous video where I spoke about the toys, the wrestling characters, and the movie that you play in your head, that you utilize these things to your imagination, to your advantage, then you'll see that viruses, for example, are more or less something that you awaken within you, because you carry all these viruses within you. You're basically the ancient cemetery, the ancient cemetery of all ancient viruses that you can possibly think of throughout time and history. Now, one of the things to take into account here is that your body whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Kids play in dirt, and when they're playing in dirt, they're building their defenses. Their immune system is getting stronger. So it's basically a bacterial world, okay? Because you're nothing but bacteria. But the foods you eat may deplete that bacteria, which is your process. Your body is nothing but a processing center. So if you cannot process a virus and you end up dying from that virus, is no different than you can possibly die from food poisoning. If you're not able to process certain things, certain foods in time, they may not do it right away, but in time end up killing you because they create certain diseases within you. Because the thing is that you see, it's imbalanced your chemistry to the point where you may not have any more, you may be insulin resistant, and you create diabetes in your body, creating high blood pressure, cholesterol issues. Now your endocrine system is all messed up. But all these things, all these toxic buildup in your body, it fatigues your kidneys and your adrenals because your liver is backed up, because all this is basically sent over. Whatever your liver is not processing, it gets sent over to the kidneys. And when your kidneys get tired or fatigued, or they get blocked with like kidney stones, we call them, because of, let's say, calcified stones that may calcify in the ducts of certain organs in your body, it creates lymphatic stagnation, and this is your sewer system. So if you cannot get these wastes out of your body, then what ends up happening is no different than when you go into your house and you got your toilet and all these pipes clogged up. It's going to create a big stench in there. So it's basically how it is. It's putrefaction and fermentation all within your body. Now, what that does is it creates a very horrible living environment for the bacteria in your body. So if your world is a gut, it's no that you see, people think like, okay, well then I could go take probiotics, but it doesn't matter how much probiotics you take, or even B12, because a lot of people become B12 deficient when your body is in horrible conditions this way, because B12 is actually a bacteria. It's not a vitamin. They call it vitamin B12 the same way they call vitamin D3 a vitamin. A vitamin D3, that's not a vitamin. D3 is a hormone, and it's produced on the skin. B12 is a bacteria. Now you have something called the intrinsic factor, which is basically the environment. So it don't matter. There's people, look, you can live off 8 micrograms in your body and it recycles and it stays in there for years. However, there's supplements that have 25 to 5,000 micrograms of B12 and people still are deficient. But why is this? Because it doesn't matter how much of that bacteria you put into your body. If your body is not suited or properly conditioned to house that bacteria, it's no different than putting people in Mars. You cannot go live in Mars. Your body has to be like Earth. That's being in tune with nature. Because if you're playing with bacteria, you're shaking people's hands, you're touching surfaces that other people have touched. That's bacteria that their body's interacting with. And your body is supposed to be able to house all these things. People, let me tell you something. If people have imbalances in their gut microbiome, there's even something called fecal transplant. So think about this. People are so germophobic, but yet the way to heal certain people's gut, which is destroyed beyond measure, is actually a process called fecal transplant. Okay, so that's why it's important to take into account that bacteria and exchange is actually very, very important. Okay, it's important to expose yourself to all these things, but it's important to keep your body healthy mentally and emotionally as well, because you process emotions, you process all these things as well. Now, for example, if people talk about I'm a spiritual being, but if you're a spiritual being and you're looking at all the physical things first, and they tell you that these things are bad for you, yet they present you with all these things, and you go and consume them anyway because you can't deal with certain emotional addictions to it, then this is where you're getting messed up and alchemically transformed within you, because it's basically a blind intent that you don't realize you're actually doing when you eat certain things, knowing that it's bad for you. It's better if you don't know they're bad for you. But then here's the thing though. There's always going to be a chemistry happening, because your body is made of water. And the thing is that when you eat certain foods that are processed, let's say genetically modified or whatnot, okay, do you notice how when you eat animals, you have to not only process the complex molecules it takes for the body to break apart these foreign proteins that the body has a hard time breaking down to its simplest form, glucose, for you to utilize it as energy, and it takes time. And the thing is that nobody is really, some of these things take 3 days to process through your system, but not everybody's fasting for 3 days after they eat a piece of steak. So what ends up happening? Your body now has an interrupted download, a corrupt file, an unreadable file. So now you pack more food on top of this. So the body ends up storing what it didn't finish processing. And this is what starts to People say we hold about 10 to 15 pounds of rotten meat in the colon, and this is why. This is why people's colons are all out of whack. This is why the gut microbiome is all out of whack. So it's important to take this into account, where if B12 is one of the most important things to keep intact in your body, because it's responsible for carbohydrate metabolism, red blood cell formation, neurological functions, and energy, natural energy production. All right, because see, here's the thing. There's the D3 hormone, which is processed on the skin. So the same way I've made the example of a plant, when you have the roots underneath, okay, those roots send nutrients to the tree, but there's a mycelium network that's intertwined in these root systems. And we can look at this collectively to individually. Okay, individually we take these nutrients from the roots, but you can also have a harmonious relationship with all the rest of the plants in the forest. And basically, because this mycelium network is a network of nerves that intertwine in the root system that communicate one plant to another. If one tree needs nutrients, another tree will actually pass nutrients down to that tree. But there's a symbiotic relationship happening between that mycelium network and the tree. Okay, so this is why when you see that tree, the tree basically sends down from the sun all the nutrients down to that mycelium network. In turn, that mycelium network sends the nutrients up to the tree. So there's a symbiotic relationship happening there in the middle. This is exactly what's happening whenever we go out in the sunlight, produce that D3 on the skin. It's actually aiding the gut microbiome. But if whatever's in your stomach, in your body, is basically, let's say, saturated oils or garbage that doesn't belong in there, this is actually what starts to come out on the skin. And when that comes out on the skin, that's what's actually burning on the skin when the sun comes in contact with it, because that's what's acidic and it's coming out of the skin as waste. So that's why you get skin cancer. You should never get skin cancer from something organic like the sun, you know. So the foods you eat actually matter in that aspect, because if you're eating grapes, why do you think grapeseed oil is so popular, or resveratrol from grapes and whatnot? Or let's say if you're eating like mangoes, you know, filled with beta carotene, like, you know, certain vegetables or tuber, like carrots, for example, filled with beta carotene, vitamin A, manganese in the mangoes. You know, all these things actually aid in your skin to glow, which actually helps D3 production on that skin, which is a hormone. It's a steroid, you know, and that's actually aiding bone health. It's aiding homeostasis within the body, correcting the pH in the body, wasting all the garbage that doesn't belong in there. And it's going to come out your urine. It's also going to come out your poop. Okay? And it opens you up, because if you think about it, heat is a vasodilator. So that's what's coming in contact with the skin. It aids nitric oxide production. That's why you open up the pores and everything comes out. But it's good if you do this in a fasted state. You're actually getting rid of all these wastes. Okay? Now, whenever you do expel all these wastes through your skin, like through sweating, it's important to take a shower right away so that it doesn't go back into the skin. Okay? Now, you have to understand, this is just on a chemistry level. It's not for you to put all your energy into the body, because you're not even this body. And it's not like all this will make you more spiritual, but just being more spiritual in a sense where you're getting to, you know, because it's all going to start by mind controlling yourself. Getting rid of the mind viruses. And once you start to purify your mind, which is your tool, and your body is your mind, basically your tool, this is your vessel. And the reason I say the mind is the whole body is because your body's full of different brains. So when you combine all these brains together, it is actually the mind. Okay? Different energy centers are all brains, and they're all collectively called a mind. Okay? That's why they say mind your business. Okay? So whenever you can actually purify and recontrol and how do you call it? Reprogram your own mind. Okay, mind control yourself. Then you're not really doing all these things with the body with the intent to be more spiritual. You're doing it because you already are more spiritual. You know, because you start to realize that self-love is the actual most important path to your spirituality. Because nothing really matters out here unless you really love yourself. And one thing I can tell you that's super important, the fact that we speak words and talk in language, there's more of a probability of misunderstandings. So then we created an illusion of separation. What if language never existed and we were able to communicate telepathically, knowing that that would actually look more like we are all actually one, but it would all also have a more of a deeper understanding between me and another individual, which I look at as a version or an aspect of myself. I would see that the reason that they are in that position to begin with is because they need to be in that position to begin with, because it's the only way the universe can expand. God expands itself, okay, through multiple experiences. Because there's people out here who want to indoctrinate everybody into one religion, or indoctrinate everybody into their way of thinking, when in actuality that's not even really expansion. Expansion is basically everything. All these experiences are necessary in order for the universe, whatever that means to you, to actually expand itself. So here's the thing though, the more diversity I have outside, the more of an ability I have, or more of an opportunity I have to expand myself, because this whole entire thing I see out here is this inverted inside out, okay? So I am the universe in that aspect, okay? So I'm here playing this game by myself. But now there's certain things that I want to talk about when it comes to addiction, something that really is helping me out. And I'm going to make a part 2 to that video that comes down to addiction, and something that really works, man. It's just something that I just basically started to do, you know, basically as I'm meditating, I'm coming out with certain things that are either distractions or certain things that are affecting me. And when I do this strategy, it's amazing how it completely changes the game in an instant. And it just goes to show that you control all this with your mind. Like, this is really a mind game. I mean, if I look at the game of life and the MMA world, or you know, the sport game or whatnot, whatever sports you're into, you get into your opponent's head first. And once you're in there and you got real estate in there, man, the rest is easy breezy. All right, because now it's gonna come down to the performance. But if I was able to infiltrate your mind, I have more of a probability of being able to beat you physically. And then, you know, afterwards is when you got the good sportsmanship. Okay? So now you gotta be in good spirits afterwards, no matter what happened before or during. What happens after is what matters. But the whole thing is, when we start to look at time, all right, and we're told of all these things that happened in history, all right, are you associating with all these things? Now, I'm gonna make another video on this particular topic. So if you like this video, like it, and we'll talk soon.